Well, great. Well, today, super excited to be here again with my compadres. I'm Tim Gorey. This is PassionCast, and we're here where we bring on people onto our show from the world of sports and entertainment, and we talk about what they're passionate about, the things that they're interested in, and what they do in and outside of work, and why they do it. And so here today with me is Bobby Evans, former general manager of the San Francisco Giants, and also have Greg Davidson, my pastor, senior pastor of Trinity Baptist Church in Vacaville. I, again, am Tim Gorey. I work for a school district here in Fairfield, California. And we are PassionCast today. We have a special guest with us, and I'd like to turn it over to Bobby to introduce our special guest.
Yeah, we have Matt Herges, longtime baseball guy, but more recently the pitching coach for the Arizona Diamondbacks. He's completed his first half of his first spring training with them, and hopefully we'll soon be having a second half of spring training. But it's good to have you with us, Matt. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. It's awesome to be here.
Yeah, we just saw the Major League Baseball have a very unique draft, 5 rounds. But draft day is always special, and we'd love for you to talk about your draft day. You know, what brought you into pro ball and your first experience with the draft, and you know, as you reflect back, I mean, that was the start of your career. It's an important day, and many guys are still, you know, enjoying the day from a couple days ago, and also now working towards signing contracts.
Yeah, well, I had a unique draft day. So just to give you some context, there's 8 kids in my family, and we were all home, and I'm waiting by the phone, and there was no cell phones. Obviously, it was a long cord, and I answered every call. Now, 2 of those family members are sisters, so the phone rings more. Okay. Probably rang 200 times. I answered every one of them, and not one of them was a major league team or a scout saying we drafted you. So I did not get drafted, but fortunately, a couple of days later, the Dodgers scout Glenn Van Proyn called and said, "Hey, we didn't sign enough guys. Would you be willing to come to one of our short season teams and, you know, be a roster guy?" I said, "Well, yes, absolutely." He said, "No guarantees. I can't even tell you what next year looks like, but we need players." I said, that's what I wanted to hear. So I backed up, went to Vero Beach for a week, then went to Yakima, Washington. And for the rest, yeah, that's it. That's how it started. It was heartbreak, though. It was heartbreak without someone calling.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys. I mean, only 5 rounds. There's a lot of guys that are feeling that way right now. I mean, guys that would have normally been drafted that now didn't get drafted will be, you know, getting phone calls about post-draft signings. Certainly a hard day for those that don't, but there's still windows of opportunity, and you're a great example of that.
Yeah, it can happen. It can happen. Just the opportunity is all you need. That's right.
So, Matt, you get drafted, and you spend 8 years in the minor leagues. And we've all heard about the rigors of what the minors are all about. And you defy statistics, you defy the odds, because most guys don't hang in there for 8 years in the minor leagues and stay with their vision to play Major League Baseball. But you did it, and went on to be with the 2003 Giants, won 100 games, went on to be in the World Series with the Colorado Rockies, and had a great year that year, your best year potentially. But could you tell us a little bit about the rigors of the minor leagues, which I think everybody's interested in, and how did you make it? How did you survive? How did you endure that long and hang on to your vision?
Right. That's an awesome question. And I'm passionate about this because, yeah, the minor leagues, they're not easy. They're not easy in multiple ways. One being, and that's not why we play. I mean, if you're 8 years in the minor leagues or a long minor leaguer, you've really got to love what you're doing, because you don't get paid anything. You got to get a job in the off season that pays a lot more than what you get paid during the season. but 8 years, Greg, was it was great, and it was heartbreaking. I'll give you the difference. I absolutely loved it. Okay, I absolutely loved it. I was single. I had nothing else to do. I had put all my eggs in that basket. So I was going to play until, shoot, I could have played 30 years in the minor leagues because I had nothing else, and that's all I wanted to do. That being said, there were some tough times. There were horrible years. Truly, by the grace of God, I stuck around because I had some bad ones. One year, 0-11 with a 9 ERA. You don't stick it. You get like released after a year like that, right? So I will say this: my mom, at one point, who's the most supportive person on planet Earth, she said after probably year 7, "Are you going to continue to do this? Like, you need to get on with your life. I mean, that's just honey, I love you and I want you to do what you want to do, but this is getting to be a little. I mean, when your mom says that, then you start thinking, holy cow, what am I doing? But I mean, I didn't. I had nothing. Like I said, I had no family. I had no, wife. It was just me, just trying to get to the big leagues, and I literally would have done anything to do that.
Wow. Well, speaking of that, interestingly enough, I used to live in Bakersfield, and for a while there, you played for minor league team Bakersfield Dodgers. And I'm a big Dodger fan, and grew up that way, and used to go to the games at Sam Lynn Park. And believe it or not, I actually remember you. So from those days, I remember you from your pro days, but your MLB days. But I also remember you from those days because I remember a lot of players that went through that. And so, number one, I can say that there are a lot of people, especially young people, kids, who really appreciate those years that you play in the minor leagues, because a lot of times those are the only pro games that they actually get to see, right? It was very special for us to be able to go down to LA and actually see an MLB Dodger game. But in the in-between times, we really enjoyed the Bakersfield Dodgers. When you got into the majors, your career is you moved a lot, right? Over time, you played for what, 9 or 10 different teams. And while it started with the Dodgers, it went to different things. And one of the things that's really interesting to me about your career is that, well, most people would kind of expect that a career, especially a sports career, would rise over time, and you'd hit a peak, and then you'd kind of tail off over time, and then you'd retire, right? And because that's the way bodies tend to, at least people think bodies work with athletics. But for you had some years that were really, really challenging, difficult years statistically. And then you had some years right after those years where you performed really, really well. I'm interested in finding out a little bit more about what was behind those times where you had some really high up times, really low times, and you persisted through that. What was going on mentally, emotionally behind those kinds of times?
Yeah, no, I think when I finally got an opportunity at the big league level, it was good. It was good. I was kind of establishing myself as a reliever, a hard throwing reliever, and the reason why really that I had that reputation is because after my 7th year in the minor leagues, the Dodgers sent me down to Australia. He said, the Australian league, it's a 4-month deal. They want to, I was already in AAA at that point. They want to kind of spruce up that league a little bit. They want like older guys that have more experience because they want to attract better players. So anyway, the Dodgers sent me down there. And that was at a point in my life, in my career, where I was wondering, I mean, am I ever going to get a shot? Am I ever going to get a shot at this? So we were working out like we always did in this gym. And there's this bodybuilder gentleman who was the nicest guy in the world. Talked to him every day. We just got to know him, and he worked there. And so he said, we talked about performance enhancing drugs. Like, do you guys do that over there? And I said, well, I think so. I think it's kind of prevalent. Why what do you think about it? So we started talking about that, and I started going down that road. I let myself go down that road. Sure enough, it was made available to me. And that day that I made the decision to take something that I felt would help me get to the major leagues, that date, even to this day, is so vivid in my mind. I remember exactly every detail when that needle went in. And when it did, when that needle sunk in, I can't tell you the feeling I had. It was it was dark. It was heavy. It was like there's a separation. Okay. And it was, okay, that's it. This is where I'm going. And it was basically me telling God, listen, I'm panicked. I'm not going to get to the major leagues. And this is all I've ever wanted to do ever since I can remember thinking for myself. It hasn't happened. And I've waited, and I've been patient, and I've trusted that I would do this, that you would let me achieve this, but it hasn't happened. And I'm running out of time. So I've got this now. And that's why I felt the shroud, like just that heavy shroud darkness. Just, it's so vivid now. So that's how I broke in. Okay. I went to the spring training that next year, throwing a lot harder, throwing explosive fastballs, more, a bigger, we didn't talk about spin rate back then, but my curveball had this super tight spin because of the force I was generating. And then obviously the mental confidence you get when you're on something like that. Davey Johnson liked me, and he gave me a shot that year in '99 to make it. He called me up to the major leagues in August. So that's how that started. There were highs and lows. I started getting traded. It broke my heart when the Dodgers traded me to Montreal. At that point, I was married, and thankfully, I need to go to that real quick. I met my wife in LA, and I was I was in a dark place. I was still in that place of, I've got this, God. So thankfully I met her, and she was probably, of all the girls I had met during that time, she was different, obviously, and she was a believer. And I'm a believer. I grew up in a Christian in a Christian family. That's who I am. But I'm not living that. Like, that's who I kind of was, but I still am. But I was, but now I'm not now. But I want to be, And she brought that out of me. The very first conversation we had was about her being a Christian. So if I hadn't have met her, and that first night, by the way, one of her questions was, I don't know why she asked this, but she said, have you ever done steroids? And at that point, I go, no, absolutely not. Like, first of all, what? She just asked that question out of nowhere. Secondly, I just flat out lied without even thinking about it. That's the place I was in. It's like, no, absolutely not. Why do you ask? And the story behind that is, fast forward to 2007, when the Mitchell Report came out and I was named. The night before, the union had called me and said, just so you know, it's coming out tomorrow, all the names, just to give you a heads up. So leading up to that, horrible sleep. What do I do? Do I tell everybody? I'm going to be found. I'm going to be exposed. So I sat Jane down. I sat my wife down. I said, listen, I've never told you this, but here it is. And it was great because she said, what else? What else? And that was hard. How do I keep that from her? We got married in 2001. I met her in 2000. I got married the day before the opening day in 2001. And that, I mean, you fast forward to 2007. That's the secret I held from her and everybody else, family members included. Then when I saw my name go across the screen on ESPN, it was over. Like that lie, that secret, it's over. Like it's gone. It's pat. Like I'm clean. I'm over it. Like it's there. I am. Like everyone who watches ESPN sees my name. And then here we go from there. Where do I go from there? So I know I rambled like crazy, but
no, it's good. I think Matt, that's incredible. To take us from that point, in Australia, and we met, of course, when you came to the Giants in a trade, 2003, at a time where I think you were with the Padres, and then you come to the Giants in 2003, and then 2007 you're in the World Series, and then the offseason 2007, we read the Mitchell report, and hear the news, and it's amazing what you were going through. What happened in terms of your relationship with Christ post the Mitchell report? Was that a pivotal point, or was it? I know there was a pivotal point, of course, when you met Jane, your wife, but was this a new pivotal point?
I wouldn't say. Yeah, it was, just because my lie was exposed. My secret was exposed. But when I met Jane, and that's when I turned. That's when I said, okay, I'm stopping this. Like no more, because I mean, I don't know how much you guys know about it. It's not. The steroids are not physically. They're not chemically addicting. They're mentally addicting in terms of you feel like you need them to continue to perform. You need them because it feels so great. You need them because you got to keep your job. But when I met her, and obviously the lie I told her right out of the gate, no, I've never done it. Holy crap. I have to stop now. Like I have to stop for her. Like in order to, for this really, cause I was like obsessed with this woman. Okay. And I still am, 19 years later, I have to stop. And thankfully the Lord put her in my life at that time. And kind of a time where it probably shouldn't have happened, because I was in a dark place. I was still in that place of, Lord, I got this. I don't need you right now. Let me get through this and then I'll come back. But he rocked my world with her. So yeah, when in 2007, that was kind of the second pivotal point, because okay, now I have to come clean. Now I have to expose everything, all my dirt, and without a doubt, another fall to your knees moment of, Lord, I'm sorry. 2, I need you to take over. I need you to take over. That was kind of the second one of those, fall to your knees. I have nowhere to go but to you.
Matt, so now we're in 2007, and what a great story of redemption. You gave up steroids, you're clean for 7 years. God's given you a beautiful wife, and you have what possibly may have been your greatest year, 2007. You're in the series, the dream of every kid to be in the World Series, but you're steroid free, having your greatest year, and you're in the big dance, so to speak. So
yeah.
So tell us, what was your secret to success? What was your drive, your motivation to excel to your greatest pinnacle of your career? Because it certainly wasn't steroids.
Right. No, it was one of those cases, Greg, where my back was against the wall. That spring, one of the assistant GMs in Colorado was an old friend of mine with the Dodgers. His name was Bill Geithnet, and he did me a favor. He called Clint Hurdle and Dan O'Dowd and said, I have a guy that I had with the Dodgers. Just do me this favor, bring him to camp. Okay. I mean, that's my last guy that I'll ask. Right. So I barely eked in. I mean, we're sitting there going, okay, we have to think about something else to do. Didn't make the team because I was a favor anyway, and they already had everything they thought. There wasn't a lot of injuries for me to make the team. So I went to Colorado Springs, which is pitching on the moon. Okay. There's like 8 million miles up there. And again, that's okay. Something's against you as a pitcher. Like, this is the toughest place to pitch in the world. You're scratching and clawing to keep a job. You want to get back to the major leagues. So it was kind of like my back was against the wall. And then sure enough, something happened where I got called up about the halfway mark, and we were on this run. And unbelievable. I will say this. One thing that sticks out is when that Mitch report came out that night, the Rockies front office were in Colorado Springs at this resort there having their meetings. And Dan O'Dowd, the GM, called me and he said, "Tell me this isn't true." And I said, "It is true." He said, "Okay, give it to me." Now, our Kelly McGregor was there. He's our team president, believer. Our two owners were there. They're all in a circle passing the phone around to me. And I remember, just spilling the beans. And they were incredible. They said, "Listen, we'll we're not going to turn our back on you. Like, we've got you. As long as you do the right thing here, as long as you get up in front of everyone and say, 'This is what I did,' we will back you 100%. Unbelievable. Okay. But I remember my wife grabbing the phone saying, "Hey, just so you guys know, this year was clean. Like, he's been off this for a while. So the year he just had for you, it wasn't steroid driven." So I like, "What are you saying?" She had to tell him. And that was kind of a funny moment about that night.
Wow, that's really interesting to hear. And I think the experiences that you have as a player and as a person through that time obviously helps you to help others, right? And one of the things that we're interested in this podcast is shining light on some ways that people can help others, right? That's where we talk sometimes about Compassion International and the connection that Bobby and that we have to that organization. But now you're a coach. You've been a coach for a number of years now, which in my book makes you a leader, right? By position. Some people have a master plan about wanting to become a leader over time, right? Some people are kind of drop into it or thrust into it or whatever. It was becoming a coach a master plan for you? Is that something that you had thought about for a long time, or did it just kind of happen?
Yeah, I think at the end of my career, I don't know if I mentioned, but I was 40 years old in AAA with the Kansas City Royals, and I didn't know what I was doing there. I mean, I stunk. I mean, I'm no good anymore. Why are you guys keeping me around? Dayton Moore, who is still their GM, who I think the absolute world of, he said, no, I know, I get it. You're not where you used to be. I know it might be hard being 40 years old in AAA, but there's guys down there that I want you to be there with and for. And it would end up being a few of those guys ended up going to win the World Series. Not that I have anything to do with it. I'm not saying that. It's just they were guys, young guys that they knew were going to impact their team in years to come that needed, and I'm honored the fact that he thought of me that way. They needed some mentorship. So as I sat in that bullpen all year long, a lot of times it was grumbling. Why don't they just release me? I didn't want to quit, but why don't they just release me? I stink. I have a roster spot for why. But I think that's when I started thinking, hold on, I kind of like this. I kind of like this mentorship. Greg Holland was one of them, and he needed some mentoring. So that's kind of what got me thinking about coaching. And sure enough, before the last pitch I ever threw, I knew that's what I wanted to do.
Well, one of the things that we enjoy about the podcast is being able to highlight Compassion International. Mm-hmm. And for people watching that don't know, Compassion International is really, working hard to impact children who are living in poverty around the world, and there's millions and millions of kids living in poverty, and through Compassion International, you're able to sponsor children and help them and their family, get through the difficulties a little bit easier. And this sponsorship is, I think, $38 a month, and you can sponsor them from a very young age, as early as, kids as early as 1 year old, all the way through their early adulthood. And it's really made an impact around the world. I mean, currently Compassion is sponsoring over 2.2 million children around the world, including very personal to me for baseball, 65,000 children in the Dominican Republic.
Oh, wow.
And I know that you have participated in sponsoring a child with Compassion. Can you tell us what that has meant to you and your family in sponsoring a child?
Absolutely, Bobby. Like, I don't even know if you knew this, but you had a lot to do with that. Jane and I sponsored a girl through Compassion International who lived in the Philippines, and it's incredible. Like, even to this day, I mean, there's communication going on. She graduated out. She started having her own family. But what a blessing it was for us to get involved with Compassion. Antoinette she gets in touch with my kids. It's incredible. What an organization. I believe they're in Colorado Springs, correct? I've never been there. I've driven by it a bunch of times. Absolutely. And even talking about our girl that we sponsored, calling Compassion, saying, what's going on, with her. She's not, basically the sponsorship stopped because we didn't realize that she graduated. They took her through the whole program, and she started having her own family. So what a blessing it is. I mean, we got her. I want to say she was really young, like maybe 10. And all the way through to adulthood. But it's very special.
Matt, you've been very inspiring for all of us today. Your story just infuses us with hope that we have this wonderful redemption through Jesus Christ. Thank you for being with us. And for those of you that are watching, Bobby and Tim and I will be back next week as we interview those that are in sports, film, Christian music ministry, and hear their stories that inspire us, challenge us, motivate us. But until then, God bless you, and we'll see you soon.